By popular demand, we're going to talk today about the cost of living in Nashville 2023. I've had several people ask me the question. I did one about a year ago on what is it like to live in Nashville? What are the day-to-day costs? Transportation, utility bills. Not only housing is so important, but how much are groceries? How much is it going to cost to stop and get several gallons of gas every week or so and get a pup? We don't call it pop here, by the way. This, for your information, is not a sun-kissed orange. It's a Coke. Everything in Nashville is basically called a Coke. So if you want to talk like the natives, we don't have sodas. We don't have pop. We have Cokes. But anyway, today we're going to talk about the cost of living in Nashville 2023 by popular demand. You asked for it. Here we go. We're going to talk about it. See you on the other side. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about the cost of living in Nashville 2023. So many things have changed throughout the country for you, wherever it is that you live, and for us, both in housing and inflation over the last year or so, and trying to decide whether you can or should move into one area without the full knowledge of what are the day-to-day costs. How does your place compare to in transportation and housing and food? How can you budget and make that move and really come out maybe on top? All these things go into your decision-making process, and I've had this question come up 2 or 3 times lately by subscribers to this show. So today we're talking about the cost of living 2023. It's been a good year since I've done this, and so it was interesting for me to do my research as well. As you know, I never just come off the top of my head with these things. I really do my research. And the information that I'm giving you today, the specific numbers today, are coming from both salary.com, rent.com, and payscale.com, and then our Nashville MLS. So this is really, truly statistical information that you can use. Again, kind of generalities. As you know, when we get into the groceries, that Whole Foods is going to be more expensive than a Piggly Wiggly, but that's not always true either, but you got my point. This is going to be a good generality of all this information coming from these websites. By the way, if knowing all about Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, where it's like to eat here, where the best schools, neighborhoods, suburbs, all that kind of information, if that's of interest to you, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe right here to this show. I do a new show every single week, and as you can tell, I do take your suggestions of what you want to know. So go ahead and subscribe to the show. You won't miss a thing. For today's conversation, we're going to talk about the national medians. So when it's said that Nashville comes in at 4.8% lower than the national median cost of living price for top tier cities in the country, that's what that's meaning. The median price of then all of these categories broken down, put them all together, Nashville as a whole is 4.8% lower than the median national average. Now, what was interesting to me and a little surprising, because we all know that we've had 8 to 12, 15% of inflation over the last year, 22. But what they say is that Nashville has only had a 1.8% increase in costs over that period of time. Some were higher, some were lower. We'll get into that in just a second. So let's start on your everyday life. How much are groceries? How do groceries compare? According to salary.com and payscale.com, Nashville rates at about 3% higher than the national median for groceries. Hey, we like to eat here. And one of the things that we really like is a lot of green groceries. We have a lot of we have the Whole Foods. We have Trader Joe's that I know everybody from California is going to be happy about. But we also have a lot of farmers markets and the green groceries, the turnip truck. We have a lot of very high quality organic foods. Heck, you can even decide you want to buy yourself, or you and 2 friends go in and buy a cow. Have that cow raised, and then when it's time for butchering, have the steaks that you want, maybe hamburger, whatever you want. You determine what it is you want. You can name your cow if you want to, but at the time is right, you will go and get all of your product You can buy yourself an organic grass-fed cow. You can do the organic chickens. We spend money for our food to be the good, wholesome food. No, of course, we have Kroger's. We have the Piggly Wigglies. We've got regular Publix. We've got regular groceries where you can buy both organics and non-organics there too. But we, on average, do have to spend 3% higher than the median for food, for groceries. Now, that's not talking about restaurants, and we have so many good 5-star restaurants. I'm not even going to compare that. We're talking about eating at home, cooking it at home, and that's what it's going to cost you. So maybe we spend a little bit more on our groceries, but we spend less on our health care. Healthcare costs are coming in at 96% of the median. So 4% less. If you eat healthy, 4% less on our medical care costs. Now, you probably do know this, that Nashville's one of our major industries is healthcare, and all the healthcare technological fields are centered around healthcare as well. So with that in mind, we have excellent healthcare. We have the Vanderbilt, we have the St. Thomas and HCAs. Many headquarters of large hospitals are here in the Middle Tennessee area, actually right there in Brentwood. So we also have like Brookdale retirement centers. We have several retirement centers. Del Webb is here both in the Mount Juliet area and in Spring Hill, is what I'm trying to say, in Spring Hill. So we have some of the huge retirement communities. We also have some of the smaller communities. So our health care is least expensive but very high quality health care, and we've got the teaching hospital at Vanderbilt if you want. One of the great things about it, I find, is that I personally have my eye doctor who is a specialist, and he obviously practices at Vanderbilt downtown, but also he has offices in the Cool Springs area. Much easier to get in and out of, much easier to not have the traffic. And so what you're going to find is many doctors' offices have satellite offices all over the city. So it's pretty easy to get to them. That healthcare is very high quality. That's one of our city's major industries, and you're going to save some money and have top-notch health care right here in Middle Tennessee. Okay, now let's talk about transportation. Do you need a car? Yes, you probably do. We do not have a really good rapid transit system. We don't have an overhead line system, and we certainly don't have a subway type system. I don't think we're ever going to. You may know Nashville is built on a lot of rock. To blast through all that rock, and especially in areas where people are already living, is not a good situation. So I've had some people consider coming to Nashville and they don't have a car. They're used to having a good rapid transit system, and but they want to be further from town, 20-30 minutes. You're going to need a car or be a really good bicyclist. And that still doesn't work very well in February. So here's the thing. If you don't have a car, if you're not used to that, you're probably going to want to buy a car. Now, what you're going to find is our gas prices tend to run quite a bit lower than many of the areas that I've been checking. Today, this is January 6th. I just paid $2.79 a gallon for gas. I've seen it today because I've been kind of all over the city. I've seen it anywhere from $2.69 to $3.10. So you do a little moving around and you find it at different prices. But our gasoline prices tend to run a little less expensive than in most areas of the country that I've found. But if you think you can get away without having a car here, unless you live maybe in the Midtown area or right downtown, which means you're going to be in a high-rise condominium or an apartment. If you live in that situation, you can walk to the turnip truck. You can walk to work. You can do those things. And then maybe get an Uber to go out to Percy Warner Park or to Percy Priest to go to the lake. Depends on you, depends on your lifestyle, depends on what you enjoy doing, depends on your budget as to what you can buy. But we're really not going to find a good single family home that you don't need to pretty regularly have a car to get to doing most of the things that people enjoy doing here in Nashville. So we've spent about 3% more on our groceries than the median. We've saved about 4% on our health care. And you've had to buy a car probably. But as far as energy goes, let's talk about what is it going to cost to cool and heat your home here in the Nashville area. Tends to run at 99% of the median, according to, again, payscale.com and salary.com. Now, here's what we're going to find. Our 2 worst months of the year as far as cold goes is January and February. Our 2 worst summer months, and where the bill's going to be higher, and definitely going to be higher than typical, will be July and August. I say the typical 2,500 square foot house, the highest bill that I've had on my own personal property in the last 2 years, the highest bill I've had was right at $192 on last winter over a period of 2 months, and actually I was kind of sick a lot, so I'm very cold natured, but it was just under $200 for my electricity. The highest I've ever had as far as during the summer goes was right around $175. So those higher months are higher months, no question about it, but more typically is running around $130 to $140. And if you want, you can do budget billing so that you don't have those massive highs and lows. You can do a budget billing across the year and set that up with the utility companies. I'm paying about $20, $25 a month on my water bills, maybe $50 when it gets into the summertime and I do some irrigation of my favorite flower, the hydrangeas, that, just absorb water like crazy. But water bills are not terribly expensive. We've never had a water moratorium, and I know a lot of you Californians have had that. We don't have that. We haven't had any times of you have to not flush your toilet during this period, or we don't have any of that kind of stuff. That's a lifestyle choice that I think would be really tough. You don't have those problems here. To help mitigate some of those larger costs, obviously, especially if you have an older home, is maybe put in your budget changing out to the insulated glass, the double pane insulated glass. If the house was built in the 40s to up to 80s maybe even, unless it's been renovated, it probably does not have the double paned glass. Another thing you can do is do the double paned but low E glass, which would kind of serves as sunglasses a little bit. So it keeps that harsh heat out. It also keeps your fabrics and your flooring from bleaching out during the heavy sun times. It's going to help cut your utility bills. So if you're looking at an older home, that may be something that you want to consider and budget for. It will help not only increase the value of your home, it'll increase the comfort of your home. It'll also increase or decrease your costs of heating and cooling that home. The other thing you might consider if you're building a home is go ahead and be sure to do everything maybe up to LEED standards. Go ahead and do some of the blown insulation, rather than blown insulation, the foam insulation, which expands into all the joints and it seals in all those air pockets, rather than the blown insulation that does drop and eventually you get some cold spots. So there's so many things you can do to keep those costs down, whether you retrofit it or renovate or when you're building. But on the whole, our energy costs are running about 99% of the country's median prices. Taxes, huge topic. That's one of the main reasons that many people, especially when they're getting toward retirement age, are strongly considering moving to Nashville. There are 3 different types of taxes I'm going to talk about. So first, let's talk about property taxes. Look, many people are coming here from California. I've had several from Texas who are thinking Texas has gotten kind of busy and want to move here. California, Texas, quite a few from Chicago, Illinois kind of areas. What I hear about their property taxes just kind of blows my mind, how expensive it is. I've even had 2 question me when I asked, how much is the property tax on this piece of property? They thought I was talking about monthly. I was talking about yearly. So on average, and this is purely an average, please listen, I can tell you specifically on any home and at any price point, but to give you a good rule of thumb, a $500,000 house is going to have about a $5,000 annual property taxes.
Are you sure?
Let me add a caveat to that. That's a Davidson County. A caveat to that would be if you happen to live in the city of Belmead in Davidson County. Then City of Belmead is an incorporated city, and it has its city taxes. They also have their own police force. So depending on some small nuances, if you're looking at Franklin, Tennessee, which is in Williamson County, has a great school system, the city taxes in the special school system also adds to your property taxes. So there are some nuances here. In general, the sales price of the home, or the appraisal value of the home, you're going to have about a 1% property tax. Let's talk about another tax, sales tax. Now, our sales tax is pretty high, but it's offset by the fact that we have no state income tax. So many people coming here from other areas, on top of their federal income tax, have to pay state income tax. We don't have that here in Tennessee, not at all. So what does offset that somewhat, though, is our sales tax, which is running at 7%. And we are taxed on food. I've had a lot of people question me that. So that's something to definitely know. Our food prices are a little higher, and maybe that's the reason, because we also have to pay taxes on that food. But our sales tax is running at 7%. Now, if you're coming here at the hotel and you're staying at a hotel, there's a hotel motel tax that's added to that. Sorry for newcomers, but that does add to it. For people living here, me day to day, my sales tax is running about 7%. Why did I say that many people who are close to retirement age or retiring often are really interested in Tennessee? Because we don't have a Hall income tax, meaning you're not taxed on dividends or retirement savings. So when you pull for those retirement numbers, we don't have that added Halls tax that had been here for years, and it was phased out, I believe, last year. So you're not taxed on interest and dividends from your investments. These things can really add up, and that's why so many people I'm finding are very interested in Nashville. So our tax situation is a really big draw for many people trying to move to Nashville and make some good long-term decisions on where their move is going to be. Not having a state income tax, not having tax on our dividend income and investments is really a big savings. And a lot of people are making that be one of their final decisions, or maybe their first decision on whether to move here or not. It's interesting, salary.com and payscale.com give a little bit different flavor to some of these categories. So I'm just going to read you what payscale.com says. It says overall Nashville is 5% lower than the median cost of living in top tier cities of the country. They say we're down 7%. We're 7% lower than the median. They say our utilities are 9% lower. And if you remember, it wasn't quite that much lower on the other website. They call our groceries 2% lower. The other area said we were 3% higher. So, you know, it's hard to know exactly. But it also gives our transportation is 4% lower than the median. Well, I question that because I do think everybody needs a car here. I really think you'll want one to have the life, to take advantage of what all we offer. So I'd tell you I disagree with that one. Although our gas is less expensive, our insurance, our auto insurance, my son tells me, is less expensive here than many, many areas. But I kind of disagree with them on that pay scale. And then healthcare they have is 7% lower. So what just happened to my lights? Weird. All right, I'm going to go see if I can turn that back on. Okay, I guess my house is telling me this video is getting too long. Hope I'm not boring you. Let's talk about the last thing that I know you're interested in, which is housing costs. Our median housing cost is, I won't tell you it's impossible to talk about, because if you're looking at downtown Nashville in a high-rise condo versus high-rise condo New York, Chicago, Tampa, Florida, any of the areas, we're going to be anywhere 12 to 20% lower than they are. At the same point, they've all got different amenities. It's such a difficult thing to talk about. If you were to tell me specifically, Susan, I want to be in Oak Hill. Now compare Oak Hill houses with on an acre. I want about 3,500 square feet. I know what I've got in my area. I have a home similar to that. Give me the median price of homes in Oak Hill that meet some of these specific requirements. I can easily tell you that. According to these websites, we run anywhere from 10 to 15% lower than the median cost. But taking out upper tier cities like New York, taking out San Francisco, taking out some of the top cities, but putting in there a comparison of Austin, Houston, Chicago, Illinois, Tampa, Florida, some of the other cities. So taking out the top most expensive ones that we all know are most expensive, Nashville's really, especially the last couple years, we've experienced some real gains, as has everybody. So I'm going to totally generalities here because I don't want to sugarcoat it. Nashville has experienced on average 20 to 30% appreciation of homes over each of the last 2 years. Now, beginning about 6 months ago, we got softer. Not soft, no price reductions, but definitely softer. And we're not experiencing that 3, 4, 5% per month appreciation. As you know, when we're looking at cost of houses, you have to look at what's happened in the past, and they're trying to predict the future. And looking back at 3 months ago, we're softened. I'll guess that Nashville is going to experience maybe a 4 to 6% appreciation this year, not the 20 to 30 that we've seen. Now, that depends on where you're looking. We have a lot of new construction in the outlying areas, outlying counties of Nashville. So there's quite a bit of new construction, say in Mount Juliet area in Wilson County, quite a bit of new construction in Hendersonville, quite a bit down in Amari County, Spring Hill side. So where there's a lot of new construction, and you're going to have more softening than where we're still just at infill situation. And when you're not inventing more dirt and you're not inventing more houses, the price is not going down. As people want to move back in, get away from the traffic, have more of the conveniences, those prices are higher than the far outlying counties. When I've looked at, there's a group that I'll look at, and he's fascinating. He does a great statistical analysis, Reventurer Consulting. He looks at the entire city. Well, Nashville SMSA is 13 counties. So when you put the outlying counties with all the new construction, throw it all into the mix, it looks as though Nashville has a lot of inventory that's just sitting on the market. That's not true, as far as, I'm not saying he's wrong. What I am saying is, once you and I have talked, I'm wanting to move to Nashville, here's where I'm going to be working, here's when I want to be there, here's what I need in a home. We find out your budget by helping you get pre-approved. Then we're going to find the best area for you that meets all of those factors. Once we've met all those factors, then I can show you, okay, this area is still experiencing a 4%, 5% appreciation. This area has huge demand, especially at the $600,000 to $800,000 price point. This area at the $2 and $3 million price point is definitely softened. The nuances, and as you've always heard, location is still so true here in the Nashville area as everywhere in the country. So what we're finding is it's time to put it specifically to you and your needs when we get to housing. I don't want to give any generalities because it's just kind of useless. That's like saying all women are alike. You know that isn't true. So there you have it. Nashville is now a top tier city. Nashville 15 years ago was still an up and coming mid-tier city that people loved, and we have the local flavor, a place that everybody wants to go. We've become an it city in the last 10 years, and we don't have the infrastructure that we need to have a rail system or have some of the things that might push us into that giant city situation, which most of us locals really don't mind. But we've got some issues. Cost of living here, very comparable in many places, right at the median of the top tier cities. And if there's anything I can do to help you out, please never hesitate to reach out. Do it so many this last 2 years have done. Call me, text, email me. Let's have a conversation about your specific needs. And until then, be sure to tap that bell so that you have notification every time we do a new video. And there's a new one coming up. See you next time.